He's like, I'm on Vyvanse now. I'm really just focused on political stuff. I want to stay away from the drama. It's like, I didn't realize they made a finding God moment for druggies.
But it's not even that. It's not like he's like, guys, last year I came to terms in private that I have a legitimate sex addiction. And so I couldn't control it. So I decided to take Vyvanse because it helped me with focus because I have ADHD, but then also it suppresses my sex drive. If he had said that, I could be like, okay, maybe there's a human moment there. Maybe he's like legitimately addicted to this behavior. He doesn't care. It was a side effect. He didn't recognize the behavior and identify it as bad and decided to change. It just happened to change from what he's saying, which is probably not even true because he's on a medication. And those are two very different things. The intentionality is what really matters here. Okay, there we go. What's up, guys? Sorry, I'm feeling a little sick. Coming to an end of our, well, I guess we're more in the middle of my Disney trip. Anyway, listen, I tried to make a video bouncing off another video the other day about like the Destiny because there was like an update. He made a response on Twitter. More stuff came out, like when he was, you know, after he had sent those images non-consensually to another girl. They were like talking about to another girl. Sorry, I think I had fog. To riz her up. He was talking about like how bad she was in bed, and it's just like gross stuff. It's just like you know. And one of the things I talked about, the audio got messed up on the video so bad I couldn't use it. So I was like, all right, let me just enjoy my vacation. Let me just move on. Whatever. It's fate. Well, Abba made a video. I think he's denouncing Destiny. Good for him. One of the things I said in that video that I wanted to like make a point of when it comes to Destiny and how frustrating it is I think a lot of people, and like me especially, well, not especially, but like me, probably other people, maybe I'm projecting, I don't know. I think a lot of people like Destiny because he was a smart guy, and he still is. He's good at debating. I mean, I wouldn't say he's any smarter than like me or like Abba or anything else. He's just good at debating, right? That's his thing. He's not like super high IQ. He's a smart guy that spends his time debating. But I think a lot of us brushed off a lot of the immaturity, the super edgy jokes and like the obnoxious like Gooner stuff and all this other stuff because we felt he was genuine. At least that's how I felt. But when a big part of your career is advocating for marginalized groups like women, and then it comes out, doesn't matter if it's 4 years ago, that you're sitting here and you're, non-consensually trading pictures of girls to other girls for some kind of gross attention, you obviously don't care about anything that you have to say. And so like that's the last strand that's like, oh yeah, you know what, I can excuse Destiny being very mature and doing this and doing that. I mean, that's it. There's no, I don't think he cares about anything he says. I think that he wants to be right, and he's chosen a side that he feels like can be correct. And that's it. I don't think that he really cares. I know part of his response, he said that like, oh, he doesn't really do the whole Gooner thing anymore because he's on basically ADHD medication. He didn't even identify the problem. Be like, you know what, this is gross. I need to stop. Like everything I've seen of him is him just downplaying and not caring and all that. It's like it's just he doesn't care. He's never going to care, and he's smart enough to make stupid people think that he cares. That's it. So, just wanted to reiterate that before I started this video. Sorry if the audio is bad. Still working out this new streaming or laptop or whatever. But let's see Abba's response, man.
You guys can see the title. I stand behind it. It's not bait. It's not a joke. Destiny's getting canceled, all right? And the reason being this time is that
I know he came back to a stream where he had like more viewers than usual. Whatever, man. Like, what are you gonna do? All you can do is say your piece and move on. Because Destiny is like, what are you gonna do? It is what it is, man. If people still feel comfortable following him, like you do, I guess. Okay.
that he supposedly had intimate relationship with some women.
Sorry.
And what he would do is when he would film intimate moments with these ladies, record them, he would share some of these with other women he was approaching.
And you want to know what? I know that he recorded this girl consensually, but I wouldn't doubt that there's other girls that he didn't record consensually. I think that there was one point in the video that I watched. It was that Internet Versus guy, which he does a pretty good job of collecting information. He had mentioned, Destiny even admitted that like he would record some conversations in his house or in his living space. I think it was. I'm so sorry, my head is like on a fog. And it's like, he was like, oh, it was just in case people were talking trash about me. You know, we got like the dentist system going over here.
Casey shared it with a 19-year-old e-girl who he had never met in his life, and he was flirting with her and shared videos of himself sleeping with another person without their consent. Essentially, the 19-year-old gets hacked, and that stuff goes public. The person who was in the videos finds out, loses her mind, files a lawsuit asking Destiny for a huge sum of money. And then, it comes out.
Yeah, and just to be clear, like I know that one guy, like the Destiny detractors, people who really hate Destiny, were like riling her up, and I don't think that that's right either. She should be able to deal with it how she wants. But you want to know what? If she wants a ton of money, who cares? Like, I don't think it's, I've seen some people be like, oh, well, this person wants like a lot of money. That makes her ingenuine. Why? She had like her privacy leaked. The leaks aren't even as bad as the fact that it was like basically, leaked, and his celebrity status elevated it for more people to see. That's distressing. If she wants more money, deal with a bigger problem that came because he had money, right? Like, he is famous, he has more money, that elevates the problem because more people see it. Who cares? Besides, like, he doesn't care. He's not going to learn any other way than losing money. He doesn't care about anything. He doesn't care about anything. Like, I hate to beat a dead horse, but like, what does he care about more than himself? Nothing. Like, all of his relationships are transactional. He can't even, he's a millionaire that decides to live, as close as possible to, like, what is it in Florida, where as close as possible to like some kind of sexual scene instead of living closer to his kid to take care of his kid. I'm not trying to get like super personal. He doesn't care about anybody but himself, and I think, and it's like, I don't know, man. Maybe part of me feels so stupid. Maybe I was like overly running some defense for this guy. So maybe I just feel dumb. It's just a guy that doesn't care about anybody but himself. And a big part of that is just winning and feeling good about it. So, he's not going to care. So yeah, hit him in the bottom dollar, whatever.
Thereafter, that Destiny apparently had also recorded a lot of other women while they were in his apartments without their consent. So this has kind of gotten bigger and bigger since. We're back. Me specifically. Where's Preach? Preach busy, you know what I mean?
I feel like Preach probably doesn't need to be here because Preach was never really friends with Destiny. Preach kind of shows up for the content, and Abba kind of facilitates the content, which is a cool flow. Like, I get it. Sometimes it's like similar to like when I do content with my wife. Plus, they'd make a nice couple. So yeah, Preach doesn't really need to be there because he's never been like an explicit friend of Destiny, but Abba was.
Out there doing gay shit with his wife. Me, I'm here for you guys right now.
Are you sure that's for his wife or not just for him?
I was up in Africa. Now, if you think I'm going to take my time away from my people.
Yeah, you know what? I was up in Germany recently, China, the old American frontier lands, France, Italy, Morocco, Mexico. I went to Epcot. And you get a taste of all those things, without having to actually leave the country or get malaria. So it's a win-win. I basically got the whitest versions of those countries. And that's really what I want. I'm not a guy who likes to go outside my comfort zone too much.
So I can go spend time on the internet to talk about white on white violence. You are bugging. And if you guys are wondering where Preach is, aside from doing gay shit with his wife, we both agreed that there's only...
I guess I'm doing pretty gay shit with my wife. I'm at fucking Disney, so... My hat is actually a new Pixar hat that I got. See that? See if you guys can see it. The new Pixar. I'm just using an internal webcam, so it's kind of cool. It's like a simple, I guess it's a golf hat, but I've been wearing it backwards because my wife thinks I look hot. So, it's kind of how I frame my whole life. So, cringe, right?
One woman that each of us are going to defend in our lives. For him, it's his wife. For me, it's a streamer named Destiny, and we got to do our job. So this is my responsibility. I'm gonna handle her. Now, some of you guys know, Destiny is a friend of mine. Okay, and you might be confused why I decided to come out dripped out from my friend's cancellation. You know what I'm saying? Looking kind of fresh. And again,
I mean, that is an actual friend of Destiny's. How funny is that? It's as if the warning signs weren't there. Like every bad person, City associates with Myron in a way where he's overly friendly with these people. Myron, Nick Fuentes, Mr. Girl, like actual pieces of shit. I mean, Myron's a rape apologist who told a woman it's her fault for picking the guy when she was talking about how she was assaulted. Like this is what this person who gets around and laughs about, some guy's story. Was it Charleston White's story about how he ran trains on girls, which are not consensual? And he would talk about how he drugged girls, and he's like laughing. It's one thing to have conversations with these people. It's another thing to be like friendly with them and sit down and have food with them, and it's just gross behavior, And again, I just think he doesn't care because he can get money and content out of it.
Idiots! This is a fairly serious matter, and people wanted to hear my opinions. And I'll be honest with you, for all the bad things that are happening to Destiny, I don't feel bad. The reason why I don't feel bad, and this might surprise some of you because some of you don't know this, me and Destiny have spoken about his dating behavior for a very long time. We've talked about it on stream, off stream, and I've always been very vocal about the fact that I think he's very fucking dysfunctional with how he handles his dating life, with how he prioritizes pleasure over everything else. And I think the root of a lot of these issues,
he's just a selfish person.
Issues in this whole situation is that he prioritizes his own selfish desires over other people's well-being, over what's good for his business and his career. And now it's costing him more.
Well, I mean, that is true. Because this would be bad for his career if it came out and he doesn't care. So yeah, I guess so.
It cost him already some things in the past, and he's always been very much in denial about how it affects him negatively, and now it's costing him even more. And I'm, to this day, not entirely sure if he's ready to really acknowledge the impact it has on him.
Do you think I'm self-destructive?
Yeah. If you engage in hedonism, I would say you're self-destructive. I say the same thing about Destiny. I think he can be self-destructive, and I don't think you would entirely disagree.
So wait,
I completely disagree. I don't think I'm self-destructive at all.
Oh, hold up.
Okay.
Hold up. I'm just actually curious. You don't think that to some degree your hedonism doesn't bite you in the ass?
Nope. I think I have a really good engagement with most of my hobbies. I think I do it pretty well. I think that my mental functioning is very high. I think my career is incredibly successful. There are parts of my life that I can improve, but I think that people look at some of the standard markers for trouble and they, for some reason, project a ton of stuff onto me. But I think I'm living like one of the healthiest, fullest lives that I possibly could be.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, at this point, he thinks that we all just think he's kind of a gooner. But in reality, he's, a self-proclaimed advocate of marginalized groups, non-consensually sending messages of girls to other girls to rizz them up. So based on the facade that he presents here, he's right. And he's confident when he lies to everybody. But the reality is obviously he's much more dysfunctional than he, pretends to let on.
Constantly having poor relationships with women over a long period of time, or in other situations, STDs, different things like that. Eventually that hedonism comes back to bite them in the life. And they also recognize they could have invested that time a lot better.
So wait, what do you ask us about this? Like, what was your idea of this?
Yeah, it's not like I have like 100 kids and 5 million STDs and like...
No, you just constantly... Okay, I'm not going to talk about it.
Well, you might as well, but no, you drop the accusation, go for it. You just constantly Say it. No, say it.
This, right?
No, shut up, Melina, shut up. Let him talk. What do you mean, constantly what?
Hold.
Anything you do in life that's going to increase like your ability to like have fun or do like crazy stuff or whatever is always going to carry with it like the risk of death, right?
Absolutely.
Like you have no chance of dying by falling out of a plane unless you go skydiving, but that's not an argument against never skydiving.
But it is an argument against maybe skydiving 1,000 times if you don't want to die that way.
Well, if you want to skydive 1,000 times, then fucking...
It's like debate stuff. Like, okay.
Skydive 1,000 times. Like, what's wrong? Damn, what happened to all the self-empowerment shit that you guys were talking about earlier?
I mean, it just depends on whether or not you want that outcome. If you're saying like, oh, I don't want this kind of destructive thing, or I don't want to end up dying by skydiving, then maybe don't skydive every other day.
Yeah, but I'm not complaining about that. You guys are. If your lifestyle choices are like, damn, I would never want to deal with like a crazy girl.
It's just so weird listening to them talk. It's just a bunch of fibs, guys. It's all just debate, blah, 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 blah. Like at this point, he's doing like extraordinarily degenerate shit in private. I mean, at this point, it's a big red flag, him being like 10 plus years older than the girl that he married, and then just being a horrible, piece of shit to her, which is another thing that I saw in that like internet versus follow-up video, which we all kind of do, right? Not saying she's perfect, but like we know older guys getting together, marrying, well, let's just be older people getting together, marrying younger people. There's obviously going to be something there. Because you're older, you have more money, you're more established, you're generally more, mentally capable. So
girl or anything like that, that's totally valid. I think it's totally fine. I accept that that's probably true for most people. But like, I'm okay with the trade-off on that for like all the benefits that I get. I like f***ing a lot of people. I like traveling a lot. I like doing drugs. I like my stream shit. That's like super fun for me. To be like, well, doesn't bad stuff happen sometimes so you shouldn't do it? That doesn't compute to me. Like, I feel like I'm...
Yeah, because you're immature. Like, I used to like fucking around too, and then you get married. Well, I mean, my wife made my life better. So that's the thing, though. He'll never think that anybody else can make his life better, like in any way. I don't think that there's any spiritual aspect there, feeling better and more regulated at all. I don't think that that's a thing that he ever would consider valuable. Financially, he's already made it financially. So yeah, you know, he's just never gonna see any kind of like change there at all. It's just like, hey, it feels good, and I'm making money. The feedback that life is giving me is that this is going well. I'm making a lot of money. It's okay that I do what I do. You know, and any bad shit I do, as long as people don't find out, and then if they do find out, I'm just gonna be like a fucking loser about it and not really care, because I don't care about anything I talk about.
living a super amazing life, and I feel like there's a lot of shit that happens all the time. I understand it might be a lot for some people, but it seems weird to be like, oh, well, I think that you're like secretly like hurting or damaged inside because of some negative outcomes. Like,
I mean, I think that he's probably addicted to drugs and addicted to fucking women. That's like literally, he probably has like some kind of deep addiction problem, and I don't care to sit here and empathize with it. I don't care. Everybody has some kind of an issue with something, you know. It is what it is, but like, get your shit together. He's obviously like sex addicted. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, obviously I'm fat, so I'm probably food addicted, which is changing. I'm on a GLP-1, you know. Probably like fucking porn addicted. That's something that I've been putting a lot of effort into in my private life, you know. But like, he doesn't put effort into it. He's not like putting effort into his gooner addiction. Well, and even saying a gooner, his fucking disgusting degenerate sex habits, we'll say, he's not putting any energy into changing that. He like admitted that he just started taking an ADHD medication that lowered his sex drive. Like, he didn't take it to lower his sex drive, saying like, oh man, this is like a problem. Like, I don't have any control over myself sexually. I need to go on some kind of suppressant. No, it's just a consequence of him going on an ADHD medication. You know, he doesn't. My point is, he doesn't care, because that was one of his excuses that I saw. Was like, well, I don't really do it anymore because I'm on this medication. I looked it up as an ADHD med. It's like, okay, so you're not on it to curb your sexual appetite. You're just on it to help your ADHD. That's great. And like, I can understand that there could be impulse control problems that come with ADHD, because I have it as well. I'm not medicated. I don't wish to be. I hate being on medication. I'm on medications for my health, but I don't like being on it, especially ADHD meds. Like, I used to be on when I was a kid. They just really suppress you in general. But my point is he's not changing because he's supposed to, or because what he's doing is wrong, or he identifies that he's changing. Is just like what's happening in his life. It's just like, oh, I'm taking a new med and I'm just changing. It just happens to go in this direction.
Or to others.
Or to others, because I think the main thing with this is you have to
though.
think about the activity. The activity involves hurting others. Like, even Destiny, as good as he is at what he does, probably could admit he's broken a lot of hearts. He's disappointed a lot of women. He's made a lot of people upset. It's not just how he feels about it. When you involve other people in this kind of pursuit of pleasure, other people get hurt as well. I'll stand by what I said at the beginning. I don't feel bad for Steven whatsoever, because he knew what he was getting into.
Yeah, for sure.
He was brazen about it. When he was warned, when he said, hey, this is a bad idea, this is a bad lifestyle, he said, I don't care, I want to have fun. It's fun.
It's not even the lifestyle, though. It's like, his lifestyle isn't even the problem, right? Like, it's not the problem isn't the lifestyle of like, oh, you know, being open and sleeping with people. The problem is the fact that he took it to a non-consensual area. That's the problem.
That's why I like these mentally ill women. That's why I like doing this stuff. That's why I can't keep my dick in my pants. It's because it's fun. Well, I'm like, all right, then. When it fucking inevitably blows up in your face,
yeah, it's like kid shit. I mean, he's sitting here criticizing Sneeko. I remember the whole thing. He was having a conversation with Sneeko, and Sneeko's like, yeah, being a man's about doing whatever you want and not having responsibilities. And Destiny sits there, and what does he say? No, it's about having all these responsibilities. What responsibility does Destiny engage in? He doesn't engage in the responsibility of like a partner. He doesn't engage in the responsibility of his own family. He doesn't engage in the responsibility of any relationship. He engages in the responsibility of making as much money as possible to fuel his career. He doesn't even care about anything that he talks about, which we already know, because he's engaging. He's sending around fucking revenge porn or whatever, where he's sending images of girls to other girls, non-consensual. Doesn't care. There's no responsibility there. You look at almost any conversation he's ever had, it doesn't seem that there's any genuine, like, he knows what to say. He knows what he's supposed to say, but he doesn't live by it. It doesn't mean anything coming from him. And as he continues to engage in debate, he's still going to do well. He's still going to be more successful than most people. But, you know, nobody's going to look at him as like a serious individual, especially once they find out what's going on behind the scenes, which is becoming more and more apparent every day. And that is that there's absolutely no moral anchor for any of the conversations that he ever has had or continues to have.
I'm not going to have no sympathy for you. You can be my friend, my worst enemy. I don't give a fuck. If you engage in behavior repeatedly after you're warned, fuck around and find out. And that's what Steven's doing. But I don't want to make it just sound like a happenstance of hedonism. That no, some of this stuff is also just morally bad in regards to what he did with recording these women and all this other shit. And if he gets sued for it and he loses money, then it is what it is too. You do the crime, you do the time, right? So no, all these people will be like, oh, Abba, stick by him, he's your friend. I already told y'all.
Why? It's like that's what Myron does. He just sticks by his friends regardless of how disgusting and degenerate they are. Like, why would you do that? That's why become morally bankrupt because you're friends with somebody else who happens to be morally bankrupt, who's good at disguising himself as somebody who cares. It's just a little bit edgy.
My friend goes out and murders a bunch of people. I don't give a fuck. Send his ass to jail. And if my friend does some fuck shit like what Steven just did and he's going to lose a bunch of money, I'm not going to cry. All right. I would tell my friends and I would warn them beforehand. Hey,
it does sound like he's still like maintaining the friendship thing on you, dude. It's like, I don't know. For me, it's like just gross. I was never friends with Destiny or anything. I'm saying like, it's just fucking just gross shit.
Don't do that. Don't do that. You go and do it. Then, hey, man, that's your problem, bro. You didn't listen to me. You're not going to get my sympathy at this point. Nope. My sympathy is for when a tragedy happens, not when the inevitable does. Yeah, what you're hearing from me right now is disappointment and a bit of anger, but I'm angry at myself. What let me say?
Yeah, it's like angry at yourself for ignoring the warning signs, which I think even like some Destiny fans that aren't fucking losers are like, oh, yeah, I feel that way too.
You know, if there's anything that this situation and that most of the people in these online spaces have taught me, is that these are not serious people. Their problems are not serious. The way they engage with relationships is not serious. It's a lot of juvenile bullshit. You know, while I was on vacation, I was just hearing glimmers about this stuff. I was like, yo, turn that shit off. Because I'll be honest with you, if you touch grass and you hear this stuff, you're like, y'all some fucking losers. You realize like this.
It's funny. My wife effectively communicated the same thing to me.
This is a story about socially retarded people, mentally ill people, all engaging in sexual behaviors and sexual, and they're not ready for it. You know, but I also.
Well, I mean, I just want to be clear. Abba might be doing a little bit like not intentional, but like downplaying. Like Destiny probably is mentally ill, but everybody can identify with some level of mental illness, right? Like I have the ADHD, I have OCD, blah blah blah. That's right. But the reality is that most people that have some kind of mental illness, which most people could be diagnosed with some form of mental illness, most of us have enough agency over ourselves to control the outcomes of our lives. We're not people that sit in group homes that are deemed non-consenting, that don't have the ability to survive or thrive and are lonesome. So if you're somebody that's capable, you don't have nearly as much of an excuse or really at all when it compared to somebody that's not nearly as capable. Sorry for my language, is aggressive, but again, I'm fucking tired. I just don't feel like carefully. Yes, maybe I can't. I don't know, but yeah, man. Like maybe he's mentally ill. He has the finances to get his shit together. You know, you could definitely argue having money, the access to infinite, whatever. You know, having access to effectively infinite resources. That's gonna make you be in a worse situation. When I was still in like an open relationship, and if I got like really rich then, I'd probably be a degenerate piece of shit too, fucking around with a bunch of girls, still in an open relationship, unhappy, like at my core, you know. And there's a happiness that does come along with engaging in positive responsibility and giving all your energy to like one person that you can love and trust. You know what I mean? Like sacrificing happiness. It's not even sacrificing happiness. It's just like, I don't even know how to communicate to it. It's one of those things where it's just very intuitive. Like if you are in some kind of like actual scenario where you love your partner, like you understand why that transcends going around and just fucking as many people as possible. You can never, and I'll say this like hard line, maybe you could disagree, probably polyamorous people would, you can never love and like somebody as much as you can never love in a way that's like sacrificial and positive and growing. You never love somebody like that in like a non-monogamous relationship. I say the less monogamous it is, the less you can love somebody. Like maybe if you and your partner just fuck around with somebody every couple months, like whatever. But like every time you love another person, you're giving part of yourself to that person. Even if you have a kid, you know, it could take away potentially from like your partner. This is okay, because like, you know, everybody has an emotional capacity. But if you're going around fucking 100 other, you know, women and you're married to somebody, you're not going to be giving them the most attention. That's just a reality. Like as my wife, as we transitioned from being, you know, non-monogamous to monogamous over time, you know, my wife said to be, because when we got together, I was open and she wasn't, and then like tried it out, and it worked out really well. She was like, and it feels like you're giving me like everything, and it feels good, right? And then like that feels good to her, then it feels good to me, and it's back and forth. So, at the point that I'm trying to make, I don't even know what the point I was trying to make is. At this point, I think I was just talking about being like some kind of mental illness bullshit. Sorry, I'm fucking rambling today.
So I have to have some humility and admit
My bad.
that I've tethered myself to that world. I entertain, I dipped my toes into it, and you know, having spent some time there, was it a bit entertaining? Sure, but it was entertaining like it was when you go to the zoo and you see a bunch of freak animals do a bunch of circus monkey tricks. And that's it. And now that it's gotten to the point where it's kind of spilling over into real life and you're realizing that these people behind closed doors are doing weird shit, it's time to take a step back and being like, okay, we've had our fun at the zoo. It's closing up. Time to head home. I'm not interested in being part of the act. I'm not interested in being in the enclosure. I'm not interested in befriending any of the other freak animals that they want to bring in. It's just a weird assortment of people, and it's so different than my real life. Like, why am I wasting time with this? This is not beneficial for my business. This is not beneficial for my personal life. I'm not learning anything about social interaction, so I have nothing to gain by being around this. And despite Destiny being my friend, there's a lot of things that I just don't agree with, that I don't want to be associated with. To keep a long story short, for those of you asking, like, all right, well, Abba, what are you going to do going forward? This is a conversation I had with Steven already. I just told him I wouldn't show up on any of his stuff in the future, and I don't think that's that big of a deal, because at the end of the day, he's going to be doing mostly political stuff from now on, so it's probably for the best.
Yeah, it seemed like he was generally slowly making that transition as time was going on, still kind of dipping his toes into the drama stuff. But I honestly think it's going to be very difficult when people can just very easily say, like, you don't believe in anything that you say, because he doesn't. So it's going to it's going to be a very easy own for people to just bring that up.
But I just don't want to be associated.
And I think that a lot of actual legitimate people are going to stay away from him. I don't see a lot of people like publicly disavowing him. Like, I don't see, when I say I don't see it, I don't mean I'm not actively seeing it. I mean, it's like, I don't think a lot of people are going to like publicly disavow him, but they're just going to be like, I'm not going to associate with this person. There's really no reason to. You know, even if this debate could be positive debate wise on an isolated scenario, overall, the only people that you're going to attract from that audience are people who are willing to, you know, basically be okay with like some kind of moral bankruptcy and not actually caring about anything he has to say. So what's the point in engaging with that person? You know, that's the way that that's the way that I look at it.
With it, and there's a few different reasons, so I'm going to try to go with it, and I'll kind of just break down everything. But there's a couple things I got to get out the way. One, listen, I might be the only person in this orbit who hasn't fucked one of these women, including Destiny herself. I'm not friends with any of these people. I don't talk to them really offline, so I kind of just keep my distance, and that's generally true for me and most content creators.
That's smart.
So you don't see us doing too many collaborations. I don't hang out with these people. This whole idea that I wouldn't criticize Destiny, I mean, I think that's also nonsense. If you spend any time watching debates between me and him, we argue, we yell, we get very animated, we disagree strongly. And there's dozens of debates. So this idea that I wouldn't take a stand if I saw something I didn't like, I think people can't understand why I'd be friends with him, or they can't understand why I would agree with anything he says. And so the only thing in their head is like, okay, it must be friendship or whatever. I don't operate that way. If I disagree with you, Preach is my brother, and I disagree with him every day. So if you don't think I'm not going to disagree with Destiny, you bugging, okay? And there's a lot of content creators who, you know, they thought we was cool, and I disagree with something they said, and now they don't want to talk no more. So the idea that I wouldn't...
Yeah, I think that's like something that happens when you're in like a commentary space, especially if you're going to give your opinions on things that are more like socially or politically charged. It happens all the time. Like, there's somebody that like I'm friends with from TikTok. I'm pretty sure he's not happy with me. We haven't talked in a while because I am not a particularly big Trump fan, right? So it is what it is, man. That's what happens when you do commentary, baby. You know,
disagree with someone to avoid burning a bridge. No, I'll deal with anybody, because at the end of the day, I think what I actually believe is more important to me than maintaining these kinds of cordial relationships. I don't care about having access to these people. That includes Destiny and anybody else. You know, actually, one of the craziest parts about this whole story is the fact that...
Well, that's like a good thing when you're not bound to Destiny. A lot of the other people who are defending him are like bound to him. If they didn't have him, they probably wouldn't have careers, right? Like the guy Dan and the guy Erudite. They don't really have any career without Destiny. They've decided to make their whole entire content strategy orbiting Destiny. And so there's always going to be that financial incentive, because they can't, or they're unwilling to try to disconnect from him, try to be successful content creators. And so it's always going to call their perspective and opinions on things into question in some capacity. It's just kind of how it is.
Destiny trusted a 19-year-old Discord lady, okay, named Rose is Coming, with sex tapes of other people in his life.
Yeah.
Nigga, if that's not compromised judgment, I don't know what the fuck is, okay? I wouldn't trust a Discord
Yeah, but it's not even just the judgment. It's what he did. It was just fucking disgusting.
member with my first name, and that shit's public information. He was giving other people sex tape. But if there's one thing that nobody would ever say about Destiny, is that he makes good personal life dating decisions, okay? There's a couple
He makes any personal life decisions in general. Or good ones in general.
things that bother me. That's like, and I've said this to Destiny too, like, this dude really has a penchant for going after mentally ill women, okay? Women with like severe depression or just like these kind of like dainty, smart ass, fucking feeble looking, small white women. Like, that's his type. And a lot of them got like self-diagnosed BPD or some bullshit. Like, he just likes that. I don't know. To me, the fact that there's a pattern with a lot of these girls is a bit weird.
I mean, yeah, because one of two things happen. Either one, that maybe is just his type. Maybe those are the women that are drawn to him. Or two, maybe he's seeking those women out because they're easier to get what you want out of them. Knowing Destiny, it's probably more than a 50-50 shot in one direction. Just to be absolutely clear. He seems like a manipulative, selfish piece of shit that doesn't really care about those things, right? And that has become much more apparent after seeing the situation, what he's done, and then the way that he's reacted to it and responded to it. So, you know, it does seem to be a pattern, and that pattern is great enough, maybe not to be like hardline saying, hey, this is this, but enough to be like, yeah, this is not somebody that should be associated with or really given respect, frankly.
And when he's asked why he likes bringing on these self-destructive women in his streams and in his life, he says it's because it's fun. It's fun for him to bring on women who are probably going to, you know, at some point negatively impact his life in a huge way.
Well, that's the thing, though, do they? Or has he figured out a way to monetize this Jerry Springer aspect of his life by having them on stream? And then just like having like just it turning into an entire thing that keeps the energy high in his group. Oh man, Destiny has some personal drama. Oh, let's cover the fallout of Nick Fuentes. Let's cover the fallout of Mr. Girl. Let's cover the fallout of Lab. Let's cover the fallout of XYZ. There's always a way to monetize it. So he gets to bring these girls in, you know, act like a dick to them in private, make them seem crazy in public, which they probably are, but he knows what he's getting into, and he likes to sensationalize that craziness, turns everybody against that person, and then just is like, guys, not really me. It's like, okay.
He knows it's going to be short-lived. He doesn't care because it's fun. That's a moral failing to me, okay? That shows to me that you don't really care about how you affect the other people in your life when these people become atomic bombs who affect everyone in the area. And it tells me that you don't really care that much about your career when you attack, again, who will fuck up things in your area.
But again, he's able to capitalize off this. So he finds it as a positive aspect of his career. He just doesn't care to be respected by mainstream people, I guess. I don't know. Or I think that, I don't know, maybe he thinks that like his bubble is a representation of the real world. It's really not.
Area. And this comes down to the thing about like...
I think that after this whole thing, he's going to obviously maintain an audience, but he's not going to maintain a respectable audience. It's mostly going to be people who just haven't formed an actual positive moral anything, and the normal people are just going to avoid him, and he's just going to have an entire audience of terminally online fucking degenerate fucks that are going to slowly audience capture him, as much as he likes to pretend that he's not audience captured.
Oh, you know, if everyone consents, it's fine. But it's not. If you know that the people you're going to be involved with are only short-term partners, and you constantly see the after effect of most of your hookups and your interactions leaving a trail of broken hearts and disappointed people, that's a moral failing. Sure, it's not illegal, it's not criminal, but I can still look at that behavior and like, yo, you just spend time dating these women and it's just hurting all of them. You have no intentions of committing to most of them. This is all fun. You know, it's nothing responsible. You're an irresponsible person, and that reflects on your character. You know, with this whole situation, I don't think Steven shared this because he thought it was okay to share. I personally believe, this was my theory, that he shared this because he just didn't care and he didn't think that the other person would ever find out. And that to me is almost worse.
Yeah, that's exactly why he did it. He did it he doesn't care. He doesn't respect other people. Yeah, he just doesn't care. It's just not the right thing to do. It doesn't matter if nobody finds out about it. You shouldn't be doing right or wrong things because people will do or don't find out about them. You know, it can be a motivation, but
Because it shows that you don't care about the people you slept with and who shared that intimate moment with you and recorded it. And it shows to me that if you are going to be able to avoid the consequences of it, you'll say and do things behind
It's fine. I love you very much.
closed door that are just unbecoming. And if I'm your friend and I see you do that to your other people that you slept with and you call friends, then I can only imagine that even for me, I might not be safe. And I can't.
Well, I mean, that's true. I mean, I don't think Destiny or Abba ever got physical, you know. But yeah, man, I mean, if Destiny's willing to have these weird relationships with other people and he doesn't preserve, protect, or care about their boundaries, who's to say he's not going to do the same thing in other instances? Who's to say he's not talking to other people about Abba and private information Abba might have, you know, said to him in confidence? You really have no idea. Like, how can you be trusted?
Can't trust you. You know, and it's a shame that this came from a hack, but regardless, what it reveals to me personally is like, I could never afford to trust this person with personal stuff that's really close to me or dear to me.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because if they think they can get away with it, no one else is going to find out. They might just share that shit. And Steven might watch this and disagree strongly, but the evidence is not in your...
Well, of course he is. I think that he's just going to tell himself that he's not a bad guy. We watched him before talk about how he just likes to be a little bit of a silly guy. Turns out he's violating boundaries in private. Of course he's going to deny it. He doesn't have any actual ability to be like self-reflective. He just knows what to say. Destiny knows what to say to appear like he's correct. I think he lives by any of those truths. And he's very confident because he doesn't care. There's no shame in regards to his actions. So he's just going to say things with confidence. You know, like, you know, we watched him criticize Boogie 298 for finding a very emotionally vulnerable woman that, yes, she was 19, but she can't even leave the house without basically him chaperoning her. And Destiny criticizing him for, you know, finding and engaging with a girl like that. Meanwhile, those are typically the types of girls, maybe not to the same degree, but the same types of girls that he finds emotionally vulnerable, he can take advantage of. At least that's what it seems like. And it's like, yeah, he said that with confidence because he's not aware of himself. He doesn't care. He just says things to be right about something. Just denies, and it works for a lot of very immature people in this audience.
Your favor. And I can't rely on what you're going to say. I'm going to rely on your past and your history. And what I see is another more failing where it's like, when no one's watching, you're not doing the right thing. You can massage it however you want.
What happens when you don't believe in Santa Claus, guys? Okay? You're supposed to be afraid in private because Santa Claus watches you jack off, say N-word while you're playing video games, and that's why you have to stop doing it. That's where it comes from deep down. You're just like, oh man, maybe Santa Claus will know. You don't think about it like that because you're like, I don't believe anymore, but you still believe in the feeling Santa Claus represents, and that is you're afraid to do things alone, like be a bad guy.
It's a shitty thing to share a sex tape, but it's not the worst thing. I'm sorry, that's fucking garbage behavior. Okay,
True.
It just is. Call it a spade. It's garbage behavior. Don't mush it over because you like your favorite streamer. Don't mush it over because you think he's important politically. It's garbage.
I don't think he is. I mean, how could you be important politically if you don't believe in what you're saying? He's smart, but like at this point, you know, he's basically going to have to be a ghostwriter. He's a Jewish guy that writes all rappers' rap songs, right? It's my people. We do it good. Kind of. I mean, what moral grounding does he have for any of the things that he says anymore? Like, what?
Garbage behavior. And like the reason why he's doing it too, it's so he can pillow talk a fucking 19-year-old. It's not that hard to bag a teenager. Pause. That sounds crazy, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, especially if you have a lot of money.
It's not. And you shared like it is such a weird form of like, I don't know what the fuck that shit is.
Yeah, I mean, Destiny consensually interacted with another girl, consensually got videos of her, and then non-consensually traded them to other people so that those people would sext him as well. He engages in transactional relationships, and if you don't think that he's going to engage with you as a friend and then take some kind of information that you give him and then use it to befriend somebody else in some way, you're a fucking idiot. That's probably what's going to happen.
And one thing he said,
I mean, right now, what is he doing? Like, basically, he has his, like, you know, his two podcast hosts running defense for him. I mean, that's what it seemed like, at least at first. Now, maybe it's to some degree they're distancing themselves. But he engaged in a relationship with these people where they're now monetarily bound to him. And now they're defending him. Why do you think that is? Because he created a transactional relationship where they are exclusively dependent onto him. And they can't have a career outside of that. Or at least they're too afraid to try. and now he gets to, utilize them. That's literally it.
I think he said something like, that was me a couple of years back. I'm on Vyvanse now, which Vyvanse I think is like some kind of drug, ADHD. I don't know. He's like, I'm on Vyvanse now. I'm really just focused on political stuff. I want to stay away from the drama. It's like, I didn't realize they made a, finding God moment for druggies. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but it's not even that. It's not like he's like, guys, last year I came to terms in private that I have a legitimate sex addiction, and so I couldn't control it. So I decided to take Vyvanse because it helped me with focus because I have ADHD, but then also it suppresses my sex drive. If he had said that, he's like, I could be like, okay, maybe there's a human moment there. Maybe he's like legitimately addicted to this behavior. He doesn't care. It was a side effect. It's a side effect. It's like some fat fuck like myself that has diabetes that takes fucking Ozempic because it's for diabetes, and then I lose weight and I'm like, well, I lost the weight. It's like, yeah, it did. The outcome is nice, but like I didn't try, right? Although I am trying. But you understand my point. He didn't recognize the behavior and identify it as bad and decided to change. It just happened to change from what he's saying, which is probably not even true, because he's on a medication. And those are two very different things. The intentionality is what really matters here.
You know how some people do a bunch of fuck shit for their whole life, and all of a sudden they go to church once and they're like, I found God. Like it absolves all the bullshit that they've just done. I don't know. It was such...
My wife is making me eat oranges because I'm a little sick. I got to power through the vacation, baby.
Such a weird way, like when you're being...
It's also time crunch because I'm tired. All right. And they're shutting off our water for 5 hours in an hour. So if I got to get anything out, it's got to be now.
Said that you're doing a bunch of foul shit and you've hurt a bunch of people, and like mentioning the fact that you're on Vyvanse and you're a changed person. It's just like, I don't know, something about it just seemed off to me.
True.
And it just didn't seem like someone who was really repenting or felt some type of way about what they did. It just felt like, it made me think of Sneeko, you know? Sneeko's doing all this like goofy ass red pill shit, and all of a sudden he finds Allah and everything's just forgiven. All the bad messaging, all the people he insulted, never apologized for none of that. None of that. It's just like, I'm moved on. It was just weird. To move on to the career stuff, like, listen, man. How do we say this? If you have political aspirations, you just can't behave like this. One of the weirdest things that Steven had was an
I think if you have any aspirations, you shouldn't behave like this, but
anti-misogyny arc, right? He felt like there was too much misogyny in his audience and whatever. So he's like, he was trying to shape them up, and he was banning people and banning certain kind of messaging. All the while, my guy, you were fucking a bunch of the women that you worked with. You would bring women on stream and then fuck them within a short amount of time. It's like you're reinforcing a lot of the stereotypes that a lot of this misogyny comes from. There's a certain level of hypocrisy there.
Especially with, again, non-consensually sending images of girls to other girls to rizz them up. This is the problem. It's a big problem. The whole red pill arc to some degree is going to get invalidated because he's not acting accordingly. Yeah, he knows the words. He knows what to say. Hey, don't do this, blah, blah, blah. But you're not living it. And there's an intuitive understanding there. We're like, oh, you're not living in the correct way. And there's people are going to pick up on it, and they're going to act based on that intuition of like not really caring. It's all a performance piece. You know? He's not a particularly strong man, not because of the way that he looks. It's just because of the way that he acts. He's very weak, moral. That's what it comes down to. He's not going. Nobody's really going to like change their stance on that in any meaningful capacity.
That just makes like the whole thing just seems like such a flamboyant joke. And personally, like that's actually one of the big reasons I don't want to be associated with like the platform is I don't like the idea that we're normalizing, someone bringing in a bunch of small content creators that are women, fucking them. Right? And then when that fallout inevitably happens, like just cast them away. Like it's a really weird dynamic.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm not saying it is like, oh, it's Jeffrey Epstein or fucking Harvey Weinstein, like exactly. But it feels too close. It feels too close. That's what it feels like. And Destiny would never think that or admit that because he's very wrapped up in himself. And he's like, no. But that's what it is, man. That's what a lot of people are feeling. You're better off operating based on that feeling and just staying away. If you have any sense. Especially if you're another content creator. Because I think a lot of the people that Destiny interacts with could probably, most of them probably can't be popular without being in his orbit. That's why they don't become popular in his orbit. But like you're better off building yourself up from the ground the slower way than trying to jump into his audience, getting his audience, and then just getting ripped into a ridiculous direction, just destroying yourself. Because it's never going to, once you're in there, like, how do you really escape that?
And I started getting comments from people like, oh, you this girl in the orbit. And you, meanwhile, I ain't done shit. But because Steven is just so flagrant with how much he's just gooning it up and he can't keep his dick in his pants and he just wants to be a hedonist, even me being close to that by proximity, I start to, have that reputation. And it's just, I don't want to be associated with that. I'm happy with the fact that I work with women, and I'm happy with the fact that it's professional. And that needs to be a standard that we set for more people, because I hate the idea that I just show up on screen with a woman and it's automatically sex. But can I?
Yeah, I get that. Like, listen, man, again, like when I went monogamous, it's so hard to communicate a lot of these things explicitly. I don't think that a single woman, since like I became monogamous and like truly embodied it. Of course, there was a transition period going from like being open and just being a fucking degenerate loser. Not a single woman has like hit on me. But I know it sounds weird. Women used to message me all the time with like horny energy, and it's probably because I was like acting in a way, and I didn't even realize it. And it's like, you associate with people, you act a certain way, you put a certain energy out there. Associating with somebody like that, even if you're not putting the energy out there, can make it seem like that energy goes out there, and then you get that feedback, and you start getting that toxicity back to you. And like that's kind of what it is like being associated with Destiny. You really just can't do that kind of shit, honestly. I just don't think it's particularly productive.
I really be mad at an audience for thinking that when I hang out with Steven, who literally fucks pretty much everybody he works with. Like, how could I be that mad? Right? So, I don't know. There's a lot about the way that he kind of goes about his work and his personal life that makes it very difficult to want to be close to it. And if you notice, most of the people who are going to choose to stand by him are people who have a lot to lose if they're not with him.
Yeah, because they can't be successful by themselves. But maybe they could be, I don't know. Do you think that's intentional from Destiny? I don't know. Who knows? There's so many I don't knows here. I don't know.
I have nothing to gain from being friends with Steven. I've literally had nothing to gain from the moment that we've known each other. Like, don't get me wrong. Steven's done a lot of good things for me personally on the low in terms of behind closed doors and helped me out with certain things. And I'm always going to be appreciative of that. And, in that regards, he's been very stand up for me. And
that's nice. And I can appreciate that. But, just because somebody does something nice to you doesn't mean that you give them eternal loyalty. People shouldn't be doing nice things for you just for that transaction that you'll help them later. Everybody likes doing nice things for people. I like doing nice things for people because it makes me feel good, which is selfish to some extent. You could argue. Like, I do it because it makes me feel good, but I don't do it with the expectation that you're gonna owe me a solid later. That's just shitty behavior.
And I'm grateful. But professionally, like outside of that, it's been pretty bad. Like, a lot of people want to stop working with me. A lot of people want to complain about the fact, and I never cared about any of it. Why? Because I just like Steven. I saw him as a friend, so I was cool with it. I didn't care if people wanted to stop talking to me. I didn't care if fans got mad. I didn't care if people questioned. It didn't bother me at all. But when he engages in like actual behavior that I think is reprehensible, and I'm like, bro, what are you doing? This is fucking stupid. And his response is, I like to have fun. I don't care. Then it's just got to be a come point where I'm like, all right, then I just got to cut you off because your definition of fun is fucking toxic. And unfortunately, we live in a world where optics matter. How you carry yourself matters.
I don't think it's unfortunate. I think it's like not necessarily a bad thing. Can be bad sometimes, but this is just like not a moment to like hold on to the optics. Because like it's not even about optics. Like, how does it make you look? Because I think Abba is like a legitimate man. He seems to be like an actual person. He's a pretty strong man. I think that people probably sense that from like an intuitive perspective. There's probably young men that watch his audience. They're like, oh, I like this guy. He's like, man, even if he's not even advocating for men at a time, just the way that you subtly interact with different things, people can pick up on. Associating with this degenerate piece of shit, that doesn't make you look like a man. It makes you look weak. And it makes sense. So optically, yeah, you should cut him off.
The things you say, the choice of words, the way you carry in your personal life.
It's interesting because like it seems to me like Abba doesn't even like hate Destiny. It seems like he's really disappointed and just has to disconnect from him. Which can be a pro and a con. But at the very least, You know, he's like, yeah, even though maybe I still like you, like I can't be fucking around with you anymore because this shit's just pathetic, you know.
The way the drama spills out, it matters. And I don't understand how Steven can really say that he wants to be a serious political advocate if he doesn't want to manage his personal life in any way that's serious. Like, why should the DNC involve you in anything that they want when your personal life looks like a fucking train wreck that's going to be bad PR for all of them? Why should any...
Yeah, the second that he does that association, he's going to get blasted. If they ever had him associated, they're going to get blasted. The left has a pretty bad branding problem. It's funny enough, Destiny's entire platform is branded more like the right now, being morally unvirtuous and dog shit, but it's just not caring and continuously pushing on while, you know, advocating for populism. Basically what Destiny's platform is. It doesn't really fly with people with actual moral boundaries and moral foundations. So I'm not saying that Democrats are like amazing moral figures, but there's a certain very particular type of disgusting that like Donald Trump and people who idolize him engage in, and it's pathetic. And I think that there's probably a level of truth when it comes to Destiny too.
Want to spend time debating you on these bigger platforms if all you're gonna do is bring fucking tarnishing their reputation, right? It's like, if you're serious about this, you should make this sacrifice. And if you can't, then I don't think you really care about the political positions that you claim to care about. Not
that's the thing, but like even if he changes moving forward, I don't think I could ever see it as genuine. Because Destiny knows he knows what to say. That's it. I don't think that it could ever be genuine. And you won't know until something like this happens again, but he's just going to get better at hiding it. And he has a lot of money, so he's not going to learn his lesson. So
that deeply can't, because you can't put your dick in your...
And like he came back, what his return stream from his vacation was like, what, 14,000 strong or something? It's like, okay, cool.
Pants. So that's how I feel about this. If y'all wanted to hear my thoughts, there you have it. Yeah. I don't think I got much else to say. Like I said, I won't be appearing on those streams anymore. None of that collaboration stuff. I hope the best for Steven. I hope he fixes his shit, and I hope he does right by the people he hurt. But as far as I'm concerned, yeah, this is incredibly disappointing shit. That's all I got to say. Yeah, this water's crazy clear. I'm telling you, this is definitely the best.
All right. Yeah, I don't wish the best for him. I think that he's shown his ass too many times, and he doesn't actually care. So it is what it is, man. And the rest of us can feel stupid forever giving him the time of fucking day and thinking that maybe he's not such a big piece of shit after all.